So I'm here interviewing my friend Johnny at the University Mental Clinic. You may have the floor when you're ready.
Okay, where do I begin?
Start at the beginning.
So this is going to be the first time that I've opened up in a very long time. Because usually, when I tell people that I'm a victim of years and years of rape and torture, they ridicule me. Because I'm a man, I must buck up. And I must be silent. And I must bear the pain inside. Because I'm a man. And that's what men do. So this is my story. And I want to thank you, Stephanie Nichols, for opening up the venue. Perhaps this story needs to be told. Maybe somehow, some way, someone, somewhere will get in their head that it's okay to speak up. Because I didn't. For years, I didn't. I was born in the late 70s to a couple of parents who didn't really want me or my brother. And they had abandoned me and my brother, and we were taken away. And we were later adopted by a very influential and rather well-to-do set of people. These people had a house way out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was desolate. And in this house was a basement. This basement was made completely of cinder blocks. And in this cinder block basement there were 2 rooms, one on each side of the basement. In these rooms there were no windows, just cinder block walls, and a white steel metal door that locked on the outside. The ceiling always leaked. It had a clear tarp going across it, with a little hole in it that would collect the water, and it would drip into a bucket. And it always seemed to rain. Always seemed to rain. It was always dripping. And it started off simple. These parents would instruct us to take our clothes off so they could sponge bathe us. And it slowly escalated. My mother would come in. She would grab me with these claws that she called nails. And she would drag me to this cold room with a shower in it, with more cinder blocks. She'd turn the shower on as cold as it could get, and throw me in there and turn off the lights and leave me. And the water was so cold, it froze you straight to your bones. But I was okay with that because it was better than what would happen when the lights came on. But always she would come back, turn the light on, and grab me. And she would bend me over a chair and tie my hands with a rope to the bottom of the chair so that I was bent over it. And she would take those claws and she would stick them inside me. And I'd start to bleed. And it would hurt so bad. And then she found other things to stick in there. The whole time calling me names, saying that it was my fault. And eventually I'd go back to the room. And they'd lock the door. And then a couple hours later, almost without fail, my father would come in. And I remember laying there as I was face down on the bed with my butt propped up on a bunch of pillows so that way it was easy access for him. And the only thing I can remember was the dripping of the water. And I would focus on the dripping of the water. And my mind would be able to get set free. I could be anywhere. I could be a pirate sailing the high seas. I could be an astronaut exploring new planets. I could be a knight in the medieval ages. I could be anyone but me. and anywhere but where I was. And then he would finish. But I wasn't allowed to move because he enjoyed watching what he had put inside me drip out. He enjoyed it. And then the mother would come in. She would watch it. And they enjoyed it together. And then they would leave. And a little time would go by, and I'd hear their footsteps coming down those stairs, and my body would tense. And then they would go into my brother's room. And I could hear his muffled screams through those cinder block walls and through that white metal door. I could hear him screaming, but I couldn't help him. I couldn't help him. My brother eventually escaped. His escape was suicide. But he escaped. Then my mother, when he committed suicide, it was just me left. God, she was a real fan of Chinese torture techniques. She loved that shit. And it would be fingernails with toothpicks stuffed under them. Still have the scars from those. And the being tied to a... And the being tied... and the being tied to a ironing board. With a wet cloth over my mouth. And the feeling... And the feeling like I couldn't breathe. Like I was suffocating. For hours it seemed. And then back to the room. But the room was kind of my salvation because at least it had the dripping water where I could escape in my mind. Only to be raped again. And again. And again. And still I'm told that I'm a man, so I should buck up. It took years of teachers reporting it before anything was finally done. And even then, through the torrent of people who said that they were sorry, there were still those who said, when you become a man, you hold it in. Thank you for your time. I don't think anybody deserves rape.